The Tacoma Amtrak derailment. Was it a train crash or was it something else? Coming up next on Deceptions of the Ages News. Hello everybody and welcome to Deceptions of the Ages News. Before we even get started, I want to tell you that I don't do things like this. I normally stay away from events that don't have to deal directly with Latter-day Saints, Mormons, Freemasons, or extraterrestrials. But this is such an obvious example of how I talk about in my book, Deceptions of the Ages, how people are manipulated by the media. And there is no better example, I think, than this story about this tragic crash that happened in Tacoma, or south of Tacoma, Washington, and the subsequent cover-up that is being undertaken by the government, and how they're actually trying to victimize the people who were killed in the crash that aren't there to speak for themselves. So we're going to look into this a little more deeply. Well, obviously, the first thing we need to look at is the government a credible witness when it comes to events like this? Now, I only have to think about, let me see, there was TWA 800 that was shot out of the sky and multiple witnesses, yet that was an exploding fuel tank. In 1996 at the Atlanta Olympics, there was a bombing, and you all, well, if you remember, a guy named Richard Jewell, who they ruined the guy's life, and the real terrorist got away that set the bomb off. So would the government lie about something like this? If you don't think so, and if you don't know what particularly the state of Washington power structure has to gain, then go ahead and look at this video that I made the other day. Okay, so now that we have established that the government does lie about just about everything where it is in its advantage, or where we can't prove them not to be lying, then we need to look at the examples, or we need to look at the specifics of what do they have to lie about and why are they lying. Okay, the first thing that we need to look at is the specifics of the crash itself. Now, if you look at this picture here, you can see that this is actually a map taken from Google Maps, and you can see the curvature of the track there as it crosses the highway. Now, the curvature of that track is not that great, and if you know anything about physics, you're talking about a very heavy train that is going, no matter what speed it is, especially the faster it's going, it carries a lot of what's called kinetic energy, and so it multiplies its weight. So it is just like millions of tons of barreling steel going down a track. Now, what we have to understand is that in order for that train to go off the track, what's it going to do? It's going to hit the curve part, and then it's going to jump off of the track, right? And then everything that comes behind it is going to follow and jump off the track behind it. But as you can see from this picture here, what happens is that everything is bunched up on the bridge. So there's no curve on the bridge. So how did the train jump the track on a curve before it even hit the curve? And as you can see, all of these cars didn't. What would have happened is the lead car would have jumped the track, fallen over, and then it would have pulled everything like a big slinky off of the track. But what has happened is that the first car came to a stop, right? And all of the cars that came behind it just kind of bunched up. And so this crash, this picture, shows no evidence of that. Oh, so you say, wait a minute, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard. Why, they haven't said anything about that. What they are saying is that it is the dead people's fault who were in the train, because they're not here to defend themselves. And so we're going to have some conspiracy theory about, oh, they were on a cell phone, or they were talking, or whatever they were doing, but they were inattentive to the track. and what was coming up ahead. But that's not been proven, and the thing that we really have to be careful of, and the thing that we really have to look at, is what have they not looked at. Now, look at this. This is a quote from one of the articles I read, that they're not looking at terrorist attacks. They're not looking at something being on the track, right? So for me to come out and say, oh, no, 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 how could there possibly this have happened the way they said it did? Well, and as a matter of fact, when this first happened, there was something on the track. And then there was nothing on the track, and the entire investigation turned towards the driver and these people that worked for the train or worked on the train. So if you buy that, then I guess that's why they tell these kinds of stories. But the fact of the matter is, immediately after that happened, or the next day, Donald Trump, the president, said that is an example, and before any investigation has been concluded or anything, that's an example of how we need to spend money on an infrastructure. Well, this is before he knew what happened. And why would he say that? Because if it's a terrorist attack, what are they going to do? Build a bunch more roads so the terrorists can blow them up and destroy our infrastructure? So it's really strange that he would have come out with that tweet without even knowing the results of an investigation. So obviously the official line has been all the way up that it is not a terrorist attack. So, but if you look at these pictures and you look at the evidence and you know anything about physics and how a train wreck actually happens, you can see that that's all a big lie, and that train was derailed from the center of that bridge, and the intent of the terrorists was to bring that entire engine down on top of the highway there and cause as many casualties as possible. So let's just go over the particular events of what happened. And the first thing that happened when this train accident occurred was that somebody in the Seattle Times quoted somebody at the train company that said there was an object in the tracks. Now I'm going to say that again. The Seattle Times quoted somebody saying that there was an object in the tracks that they truck. Now look, that this train struck. Now look at this picture of these wheels. How did these wheels get knocked off the train? These are very solid objects, and these wheels were taken actually out from under the train, which can only happen if you strike an object. Now, I don't know everything about this and what these wheels are doing here, but how they got separated from the train would be a really big mystery that somebody should at least be looking into. But if you look at the curvature of the track, if you look at the subsequent denials, if you look at the fact that first they said it hit something which would have been placed there by somebody in the dark, meaning to derail the train, then you see that this is really a huge cover-up, and that the fact that they are not even looking or saying they're looking at terrorism is really a telltale sign that it is terrorism, and they are terrified that this is going to happen again, because this is going to cause a huge panic when the next attack happens and they can't cover it up. But they will try, because there's so many stupid people that believe anything the government says. So it will work for a lot of people, but it's probably not going to work for you guys that are watching this. So if you want to, please subscribe. If you like to, look into how the government manipulates people, I recommend my book, Deceptions of the Ages. And I guess we'll see you next time.